Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to a little video we're doing here. Bass Brothers Fishing DMV. Naeem here, and I'm gonna be installing a pedestal seat mount into an aluminum hatch lid. This is a custom hatch lid done by Nate's Custom Boats. And as you can see, this thing is a beauty. I actually just modded this whole boat. The last step I'm doing is to drop in this seat mount. A lot of time guys are trying to figure out how to install their seat mount depending on their boat situation. This is a small 1232, not a whole lot of room to play with. So we're gonna make it work right here on top of this hatch lid. And we're gonna do it in a way that doesn't damage the lid and allows the lid to take on the stress of a seat being attached to it. And oftentimes that's a lot of what you're trying to solve for is one, where does it make sense to install it? And two, how do I do it in a way that doesn't damage my boat? The mount is a 7x7 mount. This is aluminum mount. First thing I'll need to do is just mark out where do I wanna mount it in the lid. I'm gonna go with center, of course, and that makes the most sense. The plan ultimately is to have two supports underneath. That's what this aluminum tubing is for. This is 4 feet long, 1/16 inch by 1 inch. And of course, we're gonna sand this down, paint it black, keep it sexy, keep it looking good. I'm gonna go with a 2.5 inch hole saw to cut this out. And you might be wondering why, because this is not 2.5 inches, but in order for this plate to lay flush, you have to cut to where this angle, if you guys can see how the bottom of that is angled, I've got to get all the way down to the base where it's flat. And that's roughly 2.5 inches. This is in place where it's going to live. And I'm just going to mark center as best as I can, right down the center of the post. Let's get it in, cutting a hole in this beautiful hatch lid. Just to give you an idea of how thick Nate makes his hatches, you'll see the thickness of this aluminum. It's almost as thick as the HydroTurf, which stands 1/4 inch. So next I'll go ahead and cut this out. I'm gonna cut very close to this base. That way I'm gonna lay this on the actual aluminum of the hatch lid and not the turf. I want this base to be as flush as possible on this deck. I don't want to have it sitting on top like this. You stub your toe on it, trip on it, fall off the boat, something like that. So luckily for me, this is actually going to work out really good to where either side of the base is going to line up with one of the grooves on each side. So it won't be a situation where the top part of the groove is sliced halfway in, halfway out on either side. Luck of the draw. I didn't plan that out, guys, for real. This is where you really need to take your time and cut. Do not rush this part, because if you slip and come out, you're going to cut outside of this plate and it's going to show. So take your time here. Now this turf has been on here, I would say a good week. It would have been good to get to this part within 24 hours of putting this turf on, because this is gonna be stuck on here pretty hard. So I'm gonna have to work at this. There you go. All right, let's drop this guy in here. See how she fits. So still sticks above the turf level, but not as much. Nothing I can do about that. So next I'm gonna mark out my holes. Let's go ahead and remove this plate. Got my 6 holes drawn out, and I just need to drill dead center. So I didn't mention what size holes I drilled. These are 1/4 inch holes. They're gonna fit 1/4 inch, 20 by 2.5, I think. I might go with a 3 inch long. I'll play with it and see what size I need, but in a nutshell, stainless steel and the 1/4 inch screws, all right? So this is done, and the more I look at this is the more I think I'm gonna scuff this up. I'm gonna sand this down a bit and paint this black. I think the black will look really well. Next, I wanna work on the supports for underneath, and I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of tubing off. A 12-inch piece to go across here and a 10-inch piece to go across here. This will be a 10-inch piece down bottom because I have the strut mounted right there, so I can't go 12 there as well. This is going to support the entire hatch and the mount itself. I'm gonna drill through these holes and through this aluminum tubing right here and put a lock nut with a washer on this side, so this itself will be bolted in. I'm gonna prep this completely. I'll probably do a dry run fit. That way I know everything fits and works before I paint it. You never want to paint it and then do all the drilling to it, because you're going to scuff up the nice paint job you do to it. And I learned that one the hard way. Like, do all your hardware first, do all your drills, whatever you need to do to the metal, do it, and then paint it in the end. And all you're doing is just connecting the dots afterwards. Next, I'll sand these down and paint them black to match the inside of the hatch lid. All right guys, I'm gonna take some acetone and clean this off. That removes any kind of debris, any kind of residue, anything at all that could be left over on the aluminum. And I did have to learn this lesson for myself. When painting aluminum, you definitely want to sand it first. Yeah, the paint will stick to it if you don't sand it, but it won't last as long. This is the paint I'm going with, Rust-Oleum High Performance Enamel Paint. This dries in 15 minutes, which is important. A lot of times when you're doing these jobs, you don't have 24 hours to wait, but you should definitely read the directions on the back if you're doing more than one coat and so on. But really good stuff if applied correctly. And this is the glossy black version. All right, it's the next day and everything has dried up. But before I install the support under the hatch, I want to go ahead and paint the pedestal seat base. And what I'm going to do is sand it. I'm going to use a fine grit. I think this is 150 grit sandpaper. And the reason I'm doing this is because this is actually clear coated. And if I spray paint the clear coat, my thinking is, and based on the limited experience I've had, that the paint will eventually lift, chip, come off a little bit easier than if I sand it down. I'm going to do a light sanding, but still sand this down and make it so that when I paint it, it has something to bond to a lot better. All right, we're gonna give this a try. I don't want to sand it down any more than that. We're gonna let this sit for at least a good 15 minutes before I move it. I'm gonna try not to bump this table and accidentally knock it over on the side. And once this thing completely dries, it's time to install it in the hatch. So it's the next day and look at this, shiny, bling bling. Came out really well, very satisfied with this. I was able to paint underneath. I just had it stood up like you guys saw, and I just shot some paint around the back end. That way when it's sticking through the hatch, you see black also. How about that? So we're at the final stage of this. Time to get this installed and we are done. This is actually cool too, guys. Got my screws painted in black. This is how I do it every time. Just stick the screw right through the cardboard so the head is sticking up just slightly so it can get around the entire head of the screw or bolt or rivet or whatever it is, and spray it up. So our screws are ready. These are all 1/4 inch 20 screws. These are 2-inch screws that we're going with. Of course, stainless steel screws, stainless steel washers, as well as stainless steel nuts. And these are Weathermax. They hold up really well. They're good in all temperatures and weather conditions, perfect for boats. All right, we got one on there. Let's get the other one through. Then we'll tighten it all up. All right, I always like to hand tighten things when I'm dealing with any soft metal. This is all aluminum that I'm dealing with here. I want to be able to get a good gauge for how tight it is. So I'm gonna go good old wrench and screwdriver. Got everything locked and loaded. It's down in there really good and secure. I really took my time to tighten up each one, and I went over it and over it and over it again, a little at a time. Stainless steel bolts and screws can break if you weigh in on them too hard. I took my time, just made sure that all of these are very secure and ready. That's what it looks like right there. Sticks up a little bit past the turf, but that's fine. I can't do anything about that. It's just a type of mount that's there. It's just a little bit thicker than the actual turf, but that's fine. I was able to recess it all the way down to the aluminum. definitely makes it as flush as possible. This install turned out pretty awesome. As you guys know, I've already revealed this boat. If you missed a full reveal of this John boat to bass boat conversion, link at the top of the screen, as well as a link in the description below to the entire playlist from start to finish when I converted this Alumacraft 1232. I am going to be taking on other John boat builds for people. If you're serious about getting your boat converted, contact me, DM me on Instagram. My email address is below. All contact information is available on our social media. And guess what? Got a special video coming up. As I promised you guys, I would get out on this very boat. It's been about 5 months since this boat was finished and delivered to the owner. I'm gonna do a review of the boat itself, talk with the folks that own this boat, and also do a little bit of fishing on this boat as well in the next video, so stick around for that. Hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. We need the subs to come raining in right now. The channel has grown tremendously thanks to each and every one of you. We truly appreciate that. So again, if you haven't subscribed, tap that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Also, we're on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us there as well for real-time updates.